So this is going to be about why everyone in here, in this room, and everyone who is watching this online, and me myself included, is a weirdo. We are all a bunch of weirdos, and that is fucking fantastic. And that's what we're going to talk about. Because the internet has totally changed the social fabric of the world, which makes being a weirdo a superpower. So, to understand what I mean, we have to look a little bit at how internet has changed human behavior. So let's do that. This is how people behaved in the 50s. Most people were normal, because it was popular to be normal in the 50s. You got a haircut, you got a job, you got a career, and you didn't make that much noise for yourself. You just worked at your job, kept quiet, because then you could get a pension and then you could die in peace. That was a good life. But fast forward to the 70s, globalization increases, we start to import-export culture, and slowly but surely, this chunk of normal people start to shrink to leave room for new subcultures. So now we have, some punk rockers, some hippies, some computer nerds, and so on. But today, with the internet, or after the internet, I would like to argue that the chunk of normal people have actually ended up in the minority, and the world is now dominated by a bunch of weirdos. So we have the fashion bloggers, the beard enthusiasts, the Twitter professionals, the app developers, the sourdough bread baking hipsters, and so on and so forth. And the reason is pretty simple. The internet totally removed the need to be normal. Internet killed normal. Because today, with the internet, I can just go online to a forum and write about some obscure, weird interest that I have, and within 24 hours, at least 20 other people are going to reply to me and say, "Hi Ashkan, I have the same weird, obscure interest like you. Let's start a community. Let's build a network, or let's create a product for people like you and me." So let me show you what I mean. I have a couple of examples. This first example, this is a 45-second video clip, so please bear with me and this gentleman in this video, and we're going to talk about what happened after these 45 seconds.
All right, let's see what we've got here. Please touch the screen to begin.
Good to see you here. Thanks for having your...
Tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment here. Sounds like fun. All right, so we are entering the bay. So look at this, it's got 4 arms with apparently spinning brushes. There's some wheel scrubbers down there on the bottom, it looks like. Not the best covering on that side. And here come our spinning brushes. This side too. I've never witnessed anything quite like this. So what, this thing's going to wheel up my windshield? Oh, look at that. You get close, it goes up automatically.
So, okay, a couple of details. This video is 10 minutes long, by the way. I just cut out the best parts. Another interesting detail is the following fact. 972,000 views. 972,000 people, plus a couple of more, find this interesting. They find a review about a car wash very interesting. Now let's also add the last detail, which is the fact that this video was published by the Elevator channel. So what the Elevator channel usually do is they publish reviews about elevators for people who love elevators for some reason. But sometimes they talk about car washes as well. Now, I don't understand this. I don't care about car washes, but that's totally irrelevant. What's relevant is that a lot of people care, and that's beautiful. And now they can gather around this weird interest. Another maybe less weird thing is this channel, the Facebook channel here in Sweden called Hamburger. And this is a very exclusive and secret group. You won't find it if you search for it. I'm a member myself, actually. And what we do in this group is, here we have gathered all the people in Sweden who live and die for hamburgers. So we discuss every single detail about what a good hamburger is. So here you can find the threads with 180 comments of replies where we only discuss the ratio between bread, meat, and bread. Because if you're into hamburgers, that's a pretty fucking important detail. There's a store called Frenchyware. Frenchyware, they sell clothes to French bulldogs. That's it. If you need something else than clothes for your French bulldog, this isn't the store for you. If you have another type of dog than a French bulldog, we can't help you here at Frenchyware. You have to go elsewhere. We're sorry about that. That's not what we do. There is a website whose sole purpose of its existence here in the universe is to write reviews about carpets at airports. Carpetsforairports.org. And this is a huge community. This is a huge community. The carpet at Portland International Airport has 14,000 fans on Facebook. And these people, they have centered their lives, or small parts of their lives, around this carpet. They love this carpet. And last but not least, some of you might hang out at this place. It's called Reddit. So if you haven't hung out at Reddit, it's like a forum for forums. So you can find forums about anything there. And if Reddit is great at one thing, it's that it can take something to its extremist form of extreme. So for example, at Reddit, you might find forums for people who just love the letter G. So every thread in this forum has to be about the letter G, and of course, you can only use the letter G to describe what this thread is about. And if you want to continue the conversation and talk about this thing, of course, you can only use the letter G in the comment section as well. Now, I don't understand why the top comment has 12 points as opposed to the middle comment which only has 2 points. I don't understand it, but that doesn't matter. We can do this now. Now, of course, these examples are fun, many of them pretty extreme, but let's look at, the numbers. Let's get serious for a while, or almost the numbers. We're going to look at a graph or two graphs. So this is how the economy kind of looked like before the internet. Everything was about selling a few number of products at an extremely high volume. That was the only way to survive as a company. And that's why we got the hit detergent, the hit jeans, the hit book, the hit car, and so on. And all the niche products in this yellow tail, they would die eventually sooner or later. But today, after the internet, if you group all the niche products within a segment, they actually outnumber the corresponding hit product in the number of sales. So here, all of a sudden, we have the internet coming along and totally shattering this idea of mainstream. Gone with the mainstream book, the mainstream movie, the mainstream whatever. And from all of these mainstream things, out comes a million different niches. Niche products, niche ideas, niche movies, niche religions, niche political philosophies, so on and so forth. So what the internet has done, basically, is that it has created a global, digital, tribal society. Because around each niche, each weird idea, each obscure interest, there is one or several leaders. And together with these leaders, you have all the followers, the fans, who believe in the same thing and they want to spread the message and create and build and contribute to this tribe together with the leaders. Now, this phenomenon has been extensively covered in many different books. My favorite one is called Tribes by Seth Godin, and he actually wrote this all the way back in 2008. But of course, this whole thing started when internet started entering people's homes. And in fact, I have lived this tribal journey myself. And it started actually 8 years before this book was written. So the journey started like this. I'm in high school. I live at home with my parents in a tiny place outside of Stockholm, 20 minutes outside of Stockholm. And my dream in high school was to become a music producer. The problem, though, was that back then, this was in the late 90s, to become a music producer back then, you needed all of this equipment. Equipment that would cost you, tens of thousands of dollars. And my dad, he's a teacher, and my mom, she works in a textile store, so, buying a studio for your high school kid for tens of thousands of dollars, totally out of the question. And so I kept dreaming about one day when I grow up, I can maybe afford to buy a music studio. And the music I listened to and wanted to create was trance music. I loved trance music, EDM, but faster than the crap they play today. So that was what I was into. And of course, I had already found different tribes that were into this trance music genre like me. Because back then, trance was pretty obscure, pretty weird, pretty left field. And I was hanging around in these tribes, discussing tracks, talking about artists, rumors, and so on and so forth. And one day I saw, wait, there's a category in one of these forums that I hang out at called Trance Addict, and this category was called production. I was like, wait a minute, are they actually producing music? The same people that I discuss listening to music to, do they produce music as well? And I thought, wow, these are probably the rich people who afford studios. And I start chatting with these people, looking what they're talking about. Turns out there's this software called Reason that was released in 2000 by a Swedish company actually called Propellerhead. They still exist today. And with Reason, what you could do was to throw out the entire physical music studio out the window, because with Reason, you had a music studio on your computer. So I ran and bought this program, sat day and night trying to make music with it, and it was hard to learn this stuff. Super hard, but that was not a problem. Because there were other people having the same problems and solving the same problems. We were just helping each other, helping out everyone becoming music producers. So after a while, I had made a bunch of tracks, and I felt proud of them, and like, wow, these sound really good. And I put them up on this forum, and people started commenting on them, like, oh, you should remove some of the piano, too much piano, increase the bass, blah, 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 blah. And after a while, I was really proud of what I have done. And I was listening to my music and listening to the professional music they play on radio, and I thought, wow, my stuff sounds as professional as theirs. So I decided I want to end up here. You're pretty young in this crowd. Do you remember this thing? The music store? So I did what the grown-ups told me to do. They said, Ashkan, this is what you're going to do. You're going to take your best tracks, burn them on a CD-ROM. You know CD-ROMs? Put them in an envelope, send it to all the labels. Then they will contact you and offer you lucrative record deals. So I sent my music to over 30 labels. I got response from one via email, and they said, Ashkan, your music sucks. Stop doing this. This is not for you. Pretty tough news for a 17-year-old kid at this stage. So I figured out, the gatekeepers, the people who rule this industry, they don't want me. But this happened to be exactly the same time when Napster came out. The first program with which you could upload and download music to anyone in the world. So there I was, online, 24/7, uploading, downloading music to strangers all around the world. And it occurred to me that, wait a minute, I'm doing the music industry's job. I'm distributing music, just like they do. Well, I mean, they didn't make money out of this, plus it was illegal, but we didn't give a shit back then. So as I was doing this, I realized that, wait a minute, if I just look at what people download from me, I know what people want to listen to. That's like the most recent trend report you can get your hands on. So I got a little idea. I thought, what happens if I take some of the most famous albums from the most famous artists out there that people want to download from my computer, and then I squeeze in 2 of my own tracks into their albums. And I photoshopped the album cover so it looks like I am supposed to be there. And yeah, the titles, Digital Dreams, Ways of Love. Very cheesy. Wait till you hear the artist name I had. DJ Mysterium. I'm getting the shivers, actually. Anyway, so people came to my computer, wanted to download the latest CD from DJ Tiesto, and they got 2 Ashkan tracks while they were at it. And then the next person came and downloaded this infected copy from them, and so on and so forth. And when I searched for myself on Napster a couple of months later, I was all over the place. And at this time, people had started talking about this online, because the real fans, they went and bought the original CDs. And when they came home, they realized that, wait a minute, there are 2 tracks missing. There should be 2 Ashkan tracks on this CD. Who the hell is this Ashkan guy? But the cool part was that they actually liked the music. They didn't care about the cheesy titles. They didn't care that I infected these CDs, because they hadn't paid for it anyway. They liked the music. So to make a long story short, this maneuver resulted in that some of the coolest brands and labels at that time started now contacting me and competing to have me signing with them. And this is me just 1 year later after this. I was in Belgium with one of my idols at that time, Sven Maas, one of the biggest producers of that time. And we created the theme song for one of the biggest trance festivals in the world, Trance Energy. 18 years old, still living at home with my mom and dad. All I have is a computer. Don't forget that. And then I became more mature, so I removed this DJ Mysterium crap and I became NVO. And I stopped making music in 2007 actually, but this thing still lives on in Spotify. We've got 30,000 monthly listeners every month. So this whole thing is still surviving because the trance tribe is strong. People care a lot about trance. People listen to trance. And what happened with these fake tracks that I infected CDs with? Well, people started discussing them online, and they figured out like, oh, this Digital Dreams track, it's not made by MVO, it's just a fake track. And people asked, so, you know, okay, good to know, but who's the real fucker behind it? And of course, that was me. All of this happened within the course of 2 years, super fast. And remember, this was almost 17 years ago. Imagine what's possible now if you let your awareness out and start joining these networks. Because none of this had been possible if it weren't for all the strong tribes that were passionate about trance music. The people who did piracy stuff back then, the trance fans, the record producers, and so on. They all helped me. Without them, none of this would have been possible. So, you know, you have to dare to be the real weirdo that you are, because that's the first spark that will make interesting stuff happen. Don't be in the middle. The middle is boring. You should be the weirdo that you are, because now you actually can. And you might think, you know, it's not weird to make music. You know, everyone makes music today. Back then it was. People thought I had like schizophrenia or something when I said, I'm going to get a record deal. And I was sitting in my room at my parents' house. It was weird. But of course, this was barely a single tiny dent in the whole scheme of humanity, you know, my little NVO DJ Mysterium crap. But it was still possible. But there are so many cool things people are doing today because they are part of all of these tribes. For example, there's this mini computer called the Arduino. With the Arduino, you can realize any idea you have that involves technology without any prior skills or knowledge in computer programming or electronics. So for example, somebody created a Twitter account connected to an earthquake detector, which warns the population of Chile before an earthquake happens. But guess what? It was created by a 14-year-old kid named Sebastián Alegría. A bunch of people online got this idea that what happens if we create a satellite together, a satellite for the people, by the people? Pretty weird idea if you asked it back then when they were asking it. But people loved the idea, tribes started connecting, and people started contributing to this idea. And a couple of years later, a satellite built with the Arduino was sent to space. And today, we have 26 of these satellites orbiting the planet, gathering scientific data and sending it back. And again, none of this would have been possible without all these tribes being connected around their interests doing this stuff. Even the Bitcoin revolution, the cryptocurrency revolution that has the potential to turn the entire financial industry upside down, started out as a white paper published by an anonymous programmer or a group of programmers, published online, started getting attention, released as open source, and then a bunch of different tribes interested in monetary politics, programming, and so on, made this happen. So you know, this solo genius sitting at her or his chamber coming up with crazy ideas, that's a bullshit myth. That doesn't happen. It's just fake. A genius is a band of people working together around a really passionate thing they care about. So, you know, I know you're all a bunch of weirdos. I know you are. And I think the best way to thrive in this new world with the internet and everything is to be the weirdo you are and not keep these ideas to yourself. Stop keeping your ideas as secrets. Just out with them to the whole world. And eventually, another weirdo will contact you, and you will become friends, and then magic will happen. Please be weird. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much.